What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some news for Destiny 2, coming in the form of this week at Bungie. And so, we've got a few different things to talk about today. Initially, a banned exotic already in Season of the Worthy, and it is a brand new exotic as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. But also Bungie Respond on the subject of some of the feedback from the community since the launch of Season of the Worthy. They speak about how they are taking on feedback. Also, they have a few comments about trials as we get ready for the launch tomorrow, comments about cheaters and security, but they also talk about stat trackers on emblems. Of course, there have been a few issues with those this week. Some known issues and other relevant things in this first week of the new season. So guys, as always, if you do enjoy the video, a rating down below really helps me out, but otherwise, let's get into it. The first thing we should talk about today would be a banned exotic already inside of the new DLC. So, Bungie Help did tweet, "We have identified an issue with the Raiju's Harness exotic chest piece that allows for infinite Whirlwind Guard usage, and we have disabled this exotic until a fix can be deployed at a later date." And so that didn't take long, did it? Of course, the main bonus is supposed to allow Whirlwind Guard inside of supers to consume less super energy. On top of that, you can actually deactivate Whirlwind Guard and save super energy, but unfortunately it is causing a bit of an issue, and so rather unfortunate considering it's a brand new exotic and folks are playing around with it. And now, just like Worm Gods last season, they aren't actually able to be equipped. I mean, at least it isn't going to be an issue for trials now, and hopefully nothing else crazy is going to pop up in the meantime, but give us your thoughts as always in the comment section. Next though, in this week at Bungie, they start out by saying that they'd like to acknowledge some feedback they've been seeing in the wild. We had a large change to emblems and stat trackers, which we'll be talking about later in this week at Bungie, but we're also seeing some discussion on the new weapons of the season and the lack of ritual weapons for Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit. The team is currently reviewing and discussing the feedback, and we'll be looking to talk about our goals for weapons in a future TWAB. But they add that there are a variety of other topics, from Eververse to armor mods, which we're collecting feedback on and discussing internally as a team. And while we don't have any specific changes to announce at this time, we wanted to make sure that you know that we see this feedback and are actively discussing it internally. Once we have more information, we'll be sure to let you know. And they finish by saying it's been a wild launch week, but we're just getting started, and tomorrow's Friday, and the day isn't just reserved for Xur anymore. Trials returns, and we've got a bit more to talk about to get you prepared. And so a couple of things on the subject of Trials of Osiris. They did post a new trailer for it earlier on today, but they say that for everyone not familiar with Trials of Osiris, here's a quick rundown of what to expect. The game mode is 3v3 elimination, using the same rules showcased in the last few seasons. The key difference is that Saint 14 will be calling the matches, and now your power matters. You must be 960 power to participate. Your Trials passage or card is your ticket in. Try to get as many wins as possible before you hit 3 losses and have to start over. Earn a flawless victory by winning 7 matches with no losses. You can reset your Trials passage at any time by accessing the item in your quests or on the Trials of Osiris activity node. And so it's going to work very much how we would expect it to work based on classic Trials, but they say one change from the previous Trials of Osiris is that there are no boons that you will need to purchase and apply. Instead, there will be 5 different Trials passages, and you can choose from ones that offer different bonuses built in, like forgiving 1 loss per run, or granting bonus experience from wins that increase with the number of wins on a ticket. Players will also be able to earn Trials tokens to turn into Saint 14 to increase their reputation and earn Trials engrams. Any tokens that a player doesn't spend that week will be removed when Trials ends at the next weekly reset, so spend them if you got them. And so Trials is going to end on the weekly reset, but bear in mind those currencies do need to be spent before the mode goes away every single week, otherwise they are going to be lost. They do have a Trials of Osiris help article that's linked in this week at Bungie as well, so it's definitely worth checking that out. And they do finish finally by saying that Trials of Osiris will match you with your opponents based on your connections and how many wins you have logged on your current passage. To submit yourselves to these trials, you must form your own fire team. Now go and shine bright as beacons of light. So guys, if you are jumping into Trials this week, then I wish you all the best, and of course, first and foremost, have fun and hopefully you'll pick up some pretty awesome new loot. It's worth saying that if you take a look at the Trials help article, it does break down a lot of stuff that we've spoken about here on the channel. The new Trials passages, the bounties, and all of that kind of stuff. There is the Light for the Lost emblem, and Bungie say once a player goes flawless, they'll receive 2 unique Trials emblems that can further change their glow color. And so this is how you adjust the glow on the pieces of armor each week. And light makers will wear the Light for the Lost emblem when carrying other players to the lighthouse, but then there's the Flawless Empyrean, which light breakers wear when trying to block players from getting to the lighthouse. And so for Light for the Lost, the Trials glow will turn white when equipped, but with Flawless Empyrean, the Trials glow will turn red. So that's pretty interesting. And they also confirm that the drop you get for 7 wins, or the first drop every week on each character, will actually be a Pinnacle drop, so that's definitely positive as well. But of course there's been conversation about security, cheating, bugs, and various other things. And at least on the subject of cheaters and stuff like that, Bungie say, in preparation for Trials of Osiris, our security team has been hard at work protecting the integrity of the Crucible. We're always working to improve our defenses against cheats and other malicious activity, and recently, we've improved our methods for combating those who feel like they don't have to play by the rules. We'll keep a close eye on Trials of Osiris, where the stakes are even higher. And new server-side security features have been deployed specifically for Trials of Osiris, and they've hardened the network layer to make it more resilient to network manipulation. They also say they've increased the staffing on teams to actually be able to handle the review and banning of cheaters. And they add as always that they can't go into exact details on their methods which might tip off players or would-be cheaters on ways to get around them, but nonetheless they're giving assurances that it's something they are focused on. Now though, they talk about stat trackers on emblems, so they point out that all emblems have been converted to use the new stat trackers, and that means that all emblems will be inspectable and can have trackers equipped. And they say when designing this system, the overall goal is to provide players with more ways and options to show off their accomplishments. Our first section of stats were determined by prioritizing stats that were representing a skill that could be improved week over week, or season over season, and be an accomplishment that players would want to display that was meaningful to other players. Because of that, some stats that couldn't be completed or improved weren't included. We believe in these requirements in principle, but strictly applying them retroactively unfairly removed your ability to show off accomplishments that you could flaunt in seasons prior, and it was a change that we made with good intention, but was the wrong way to roll out a new system. We've identified some stats that could be added back in a future patch and wanted to share them with you, and this should be an update that we get later in the season. So they're going to be adding these ones back for seasons. Season 8 Season Pass rank earned, as well as for Season 9, and Fractaline donated. And then for account, they're adding back kills as a Sentinel Titan, Striker Titan, Sunbreaker Titan, and all other subclasses, basically. And then for the Crucible, they're adding lifetime gold medals earned, longest glory win streak, and total valor resets. And for destinations, the Pit of Heresy solo flawless completions. They say this list isn't complete yet, and we plan to add to it before the update is released, but as a note, none of the stats that were previously tracked have been lost. We're still storing them all, and some stats would take a bit more work to return to the fold, and we'd love to see more player feedback to help us prioritize which ones you'd like to see in the future. And so they aren't going to necessarily revert immediately back to a whole bunch of stuff that we could track previously, but of course based on that list, these are the ones they're going to update, and hopefully they're going to be adding to that list. Obviously it is pretty frustrating if you had something else that you were tracking, or were really proud of and can no longer show that. And so it's one of those changes, right? It's a really good quality of life change. It's a good thing to actually be able to do, but players never really wanted to do it at the expense of losing stuff we've done in the past, right? So let us know your thoughts about it below. But also in TWAB, they talk about some known issues, which includes swapping energy on a fully masterworked and modded armor piece will incorrectly show that it can no longer be upgraded, and if this occurs, please exit and re-enter the details screen. The Planetary Material Auto Collection Bunker upgrade is not awarding the correct number of planetary resources, and for the EDZ Seraph Bunker upgrade, Tier 1 requires completing challenges from Zavala, Shax, the Drifter, Banshee 44 or Hawthorne. They also point out that Faction Rally ornaments cannot be added to their respective class items, the Ward of Dawn ability for Code of the Protector not generating Corpse of Light, and the Virtuous Greaves Titan ornament, which has lost its glow effect. In other news and updates though, Fitzy tweeted, "Any chance we can get more info on why the flawless raid requirement for Enlightened was removed?" And DMG said, looking at the bug, it seems that the title was never actually meant to require a flawless completion. Before launch, the Triumph was removed as a requirement, but the shader was missed, and so that flawless is no longer required for Enlightened. And given extra context, DMG said, speaking with the team, the plan was for the shader to be a flawless reward, while the title itself was for folks who completed all of the other associated triumphs, lengthy time investment on the current raid, which in itself is difficult for the majority of players. While more people will have access to the title, it will still be one of the more exclusive in the title roster. He does finish by saying though that they're talking with the team about seals and titles and what the current goals are for them. They don't have a specific timeline on communication about that, but he says that they'd love to cover them in a future TWAB. And that's kind of an interesting comment to make in itself, but yeah, I guess if you want to go after that title and the flawless requirement was holding you back, it'll definitely make it easier in that respect. But for folks who did have to get that requirement in order to get the title, I can understand that feeling a little bit frustrating at this point now that it's been removed. Folks have spoken a lot about some pretty major issues inside of Gambit, where folks are being continuously disconnected for a variety of different reasons. And Bungie said they're investigating an issue causing crashes in Gambit and Gambit Prime. And then DMG followed up by saying for the time being, we've disabled restrictions for connections in Gambit. We're still in the process of assessing how frequently this occurs, so please report to the help forum and let us know what your experience is like. And so unfortunately there are a few issues for Gambit at the moment, but Bungie Help also tweeted they're investigating an issue where interacting with the statue of Jaido for the Wish Ender quest in the Shattered Throne may cause game crashes as well. And man, it's safe to say, a healthy number of bugs have been present at most of the launches we've had recently. But finally, a random point, DMG said nerf Hardlight, words I never thought I'd see. And it is an interesting one, of course. These auto rifles, especially some of the exotics right now, are really tearing it up inside of PvP. Been some conversation about the sandbox in the community. Not sure how likely it is that Bungie will do anything anytime soon, but I'd definitely be curious to get thoughts from you guys about the current sandbox in the game following the update this week. But for today, that's everything we have to speak about, and so I'll be keeping you posted tomorrow with all of the usual beats and, of course, the return of Trials. That's going to be an interesting one. But for now, guys, if you have enjoyed the video today, a rating below is very much appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you up to date with everything related to the game. But otherwise, for now, thanks for tuning in, and as always, I hope you have an awesome day.